Hello, all. Today I'm going to present my summary and reaction regarding the book I'm Still Here Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness, a book written by the author Austin Channing Brown, who's a speaker, writer, and media producer providing inspired direction on racial justice in America. Throughout the book's pages, Austin Channing Brown illustrates her own life, showing what it is to grow up as a black Christian female in the middle class white America, while living in, as the subtitle says, a world made for whiteness, thus concerning the topic of racial justice. Starting with a summary of the book, since the beginning of the author's life, she recognized that Austin is definitely not a usual name for a girl, and she understood this better during a tense experience when she was only 7 years old, with a librarian who presumed Brown's library card was stolen, as it was odd to see a black young girl named Austin. Post this encounter, her mother uncovers that she was named Austin after her grandma's birth name, but also because they suspected that anyone who saw her name before meeting her would assume that she was a white man, meaning they wanted to make sure that she can make it to a work interview one day. However, many white people are extremely confused and even ask her somewhat suspiciously if Austin is really her real name. This was the first interaction with people expecting Austin to be a white person. Brown lived most of her adolescence in a white suburb in Toledo, Ohio. At the age of 10, her parents got divorced and she and her mother moved to Cleveland. At this point, Brown realized how different she was from other black girls, although she became friends with Tiffany. Despite from having different personalities, they created a strong friendship, demonstrating how blackness has different standards, as both of the girls came from opposite backgrounds and have distinctive life stories. Quoting from the book, Tiffany was my bridge to understanding that black is beautiful, whether it looked nerdy like me or cool like her. I could choose what felt right for me without needing to be like everyone or needing everyone to be like me. Black is monolithic. Black is expansive. And I didn't need the approval of whiteness in order to feel good in my skin. There was no whiteness available to offer an opinion. It was freedom. Closing citation. Around this time, Brown begins to go to a black church each Sunday, another place where she can bear and connect her black personality. As her life goes on, and she has particularly racist encounters while at college, Brown's encounters in the work environment are significantly worse, as she suffers intolerant racist abuse from her white colleagues, describing a feeling of invasion to her privacy, body, and dignity, just because of the color of her skin. And this is where I've come to realize that racism always takes place anywhere, and it's always been alive. All of these situations experienced by the author allowed me to enter the mind and life of an African American woman, and it eased me to better understand what it is like to live in a world made for whiteness. As a black person, I've acknowledged that there are plenty of things that white people take for granted when persons of other races, in this case black people, simply can't. Otherwise, they compromise themselves, including their lives being in danger because of actions they take that would have been accepted differently if it was a white person doing the same thing. It was clear to see her pain, frustration, and absolute exhaustion of having to deal with racism daily. As a reader myself, I can only imagine how hard it is to have to worry about the safety of yourself and your loved ones every day. It certainly contains a message that everyone needs to understand and take to mind, while also being supportive with the African American community. Despite of being a short book, I really enjoyed its reading and has each chapter described a different moment in the author's life. As the reader, I'll admit there were parts that I wasn't quite engaged, but at the same time, there were other parts that really got me thinking about the racism issue in America and the injustice that prevails in the everyday life of an African American woman. For me, the most touching part of this book was the letter to the author wrote to her unborn son. I do recommend the reading of this book. I truly think that the white community should support and show every positive emotion to the black community, therefore, working to become part of the solution rather than part of the problem. And the Black Lives Matter movement should encourage us to change. We need to genuinely listen and accept what the black community has to say in regards to the struggles and expose ourselves to more literature like this book or any other source of information. Maybe then the true effort of racial justice can be done. Thank you.